Journalist to Ben Stokes, how do you feel you've been supported by the ECB, by Rob Key, by Brendan McCullum? Ben Stokes, this has affected a lot of people, myself, Key, McCullum, the ECB, the rest of the team, the fans. We've gone through a process. I'm back as captain. I'm ready to move on, etc., etc. And for me, that was a really telling part of the press conference yesterday. Most of the rest of the press conference was he'd obviously been heavily prepped. He talked about the process. Didn't want to talk about the curfew. Big game for England coming up. He's back. Atkinson's back. They need to beat New Zealand in the deciding test. La-di-da-di-da. But right at the start, that was a really telling thing for me. And I honestly believe they're not on the same page. Key and McCullum. If I had to distill it down to the simplest form of what I think is going on, I honestly think Stokes wants to take our test match cricket more seriously, from the backroom setup to the preparation to the coaching and what's told to the players to the way they're actually going out and playing. And I think McCullum, and with McCullum, in my opinion, comes Rob Key. I think they're very tight and they're in cahoots. They just want to continue as is in this sort of consequence-free, relaxed environment. You go out there, you play a dreadful shot, you come back into the dressing room, and the message is, we're not going to eat your lunch for that, it's fine, doesn't matter, we move on, that's how we play. And that's it. And I think towards the end of the Ashes tour, demonstrably, Stokes had had enough of that. He went out and batted in a completely different way. And then you go to the messaging from both him and McCullum at the end. So Stokes is, we've been found out, Bazball has run its course, our opposition have worked out what to do, and there's no place in my changing room for weak men. And then on the other hand, you have McCullum. It's like, our test cricket's way better than it used to be before I took over. We're not that far away. Bit of nip-tuck. And I make no apologies for my informal environment. I like to create this environment for the boys. We continue. And he was not for changing. And Stokes did go on to say that, him and McCullum have a friendship away from their professional relationship, but I think it's as simple as that. I think it's a difference of philosophies. And the reason Stokes answered that question in that way was because he hadn't been supported at all by any of them. They just left him. They hung him out to dry. There was really, yes, there was a curfew, but the game was over. It was such a minor thing. It could have been dealt with in less than 2 days. It took 2 weeks. They said nothing. Nobody backed him. All these strange questions about how we worried about him, but completely non-committal on him coming back as captain. And then, you get the messaging out of Durham while the investigation's still ongoing. Durham are like, Stokes is great, Stokes is fine, Stokes is normal, we're playing against Northants, we don't know what all the fuss is about. There's no doubt in my mind there's a split down the middle in terms of how they want to play test match cricket. And something's got to give, right? Trent Bridge starts in a few hours, massive game. Look, I always want England to win games of cricket. However, if something went awry or didn't go well, which forced change in the McCullum aspect, forced McCullum out, I would certainly not be unhappy with that. As I said in my videos earlier in the week, Stokes is the man for me. He has recognised the way we're playing our test cricket. It was a bit embarrassing. It was very embarrassing at the Ashes. And look, he's got to put his name to this. He's the captain. And he's seen at some point this cannot continue. We have to change things up. We cannot just keep saying the same way. It is the very definition of insanity. I would love to see Stokes with a more experienced setup in the background, so coach and managing director. So could you imagine like Stokes with a Duncan Fletcher type character? Because Stokes is in a difficult position. He is Stokesy. I think the fans love him by and large. I'm pretty sure the rest of his teammates do. And he has that element. Yeah, he's Stokesy. He goes out, he plays, he leaves everything out there. He has the odd indiscretion in the background, but it's got to the point where he's the more sensible and focused and serious one than the actual management, and they're in the background. We don't need a fielding coach, we don't need an assistant coach, fuck the warm-up games. We don't matter about how Smith and Brook and all these guys keep playing these appalling shots. We just carry on. And look, if McCullum's telling you that as you're walking out to bat, that you're in a consequence-free environment, then, happy days, you're just following instructions and you're going to go on. And I have no doubt that the players like McCullum, Root's been out again this week and said how great it was to work with him. He was right in the aftermath of the Ashes. He said it would be ridiculous or daft or silly, whatever it was, to change the coaching setup. And look, if you have a coach who is a good guy, you can have a beer with him, he keeps very loyal, he keeps picking you, regardless of how badly you play or how much you fuck up, then yeah, I'm sure you would like him. The worrying thing from Root is Root must recognise surely as good a bloke as McCullum maybe is behind the scenes, he's not conducive to England being a top Test match team. There needs to be a change. And yes, somebody like a Fletcher in the background, so Stokes could go and be Stokesy and lead the team from the front. But you have somebody serious in the background, somebody to grab a hold of Harry Brooks, say, and say, look, you're dialing this back, we're dialing this back a little bit, we're going to play more Test match cricket. Somebody, if you think about how good Fletcher was, two things I remember, it was he got the batsman more with a forward press, and then when we had that famous win in Pakistan at the turn of the century, he got the forward press and he got them on the sweep as well. Somebody who can, these players in the current setup, they're not being coached, they're just being told to go out, play their thing, play their ramps, play their shots, and it's not working. Stokes needs somebody to tighten things up in the background, and then whoever's above that, or Fletcher, like an Alex Stewart type character, somebody who sets the messaging, sets the tone for the whole squad. When it comes to how they socialise, how they drink, how they spend their off time, what's expected of them, how they're expected to turn up, all that sort of stuff. And Key and McCullum are far too laid back, far too easygoing. And ultimately, in the current setup, I don't think Stokes quite has a sway to get the players to play a different way, because the overarching message is coming from the coach. And that brings us to Trent Bridge, which starts in a couple of hours' time. Sorry if you can hear the fan behind me. It's so hot in England at the moment. If I didn't have it on, I'd be melting. It's going to be a red hot day at Trent Bridge again today. For me, the big one, obviously, look, Stokes and Atkinson are back, fine. Ollie Robinson missing out is a big one for me. He now gets his Test wickets at under 22. So you're really taking a risk leaving with somebody with that sort of track record out. Let's see how Archer's body goes. I mean, he's a walking sick note, right? He could pull up lame any time. And then Shoaib Bashir couldn't even get into the Derbyshire team. He was 12th man last week at the bottom of Div 2. Jack Leach has 140 Test match wickets. What is this? Is why does this question not get asked at the press conferences? Like, what is going on with his selections? Bashir is average spinner at best. There's a reason why Somerset chose Leach over him, because Leach is better. And you have this strange situation where comfortably the best spinner in the country can't even get in the squad, let alone the team. Why I just don't understand what's going on with that selection. Very strange one for me, but we're going to need some overs of spinning, because it's going to be red hot this week, and it might lead towards the pitch breaking up towards the end of the game, although Trent Bridge is not an amazing place for spinners, so we'll see. But look, Atkinson, Archer and Tong backed up by Stokes. There's some pace in there, isn't there? So we'll see how we go. But if the New Zealand batsmen get in, it's going to be tough going in hot weather. This just goes to show as well, we made no effort to keep their bowlers out bowling on the 5th day of the Oval. Yes, we probably wouldn't have salvaged the draw, but get some more overs and some tiredness into their legs. They rocked up. It was over within half an hour, 40 minutes or whatever. It just, again, the approach from England is just scandalous. It's only a 4-day turnaround. If we could have kept them out for 40, 50 overs, it's only going to help us, and we just gave it away easy as you like. Other than that, my thoughts on Bethel. And look, it's got people talking on my TikTok. By the way, if you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm at Sticky Wicket Cricket Show on TikTok. I've had plenty of people telling me I'm full of shit. So if you want to get on there and tell me I'm full of shit, or you want to have a proper conversation, I'm ready to go. Either way, got this comment about Jacob Bethel from Kiso. He says, "I'm sorry, but in our country," I think he means in our country as in India, we always say whoever pays the most is your main employer and anything else is a side job. The IPL pays Bethel more than the ECB do, so therefore they're his main employer. The ECB should stop being so stingy. So anyway, I had a look. Jacob Bethel's pay was 250,000, and he barely played, and he gets pro-rated down on the IPL when you don't play. And look, he's on one of the top England contracts, so he'll actually be on close to £1 million a year with England. So I'm sorry, he appears to have his fans, and I'm sure in India he does have his fans, but no, there's no. I didn't even, when I made my last post about Bethel, I wasn't even aware of the value of his contract, the IPL. But when you look at it, it's 250, and he barely played, so they've been way down from there. To just stay there and say what he said, it's just all the more shocking compared to what he's got paid, the opportunity that England have given him, the way we plucked him from nowhere with virtually zero track record. It's just absolutely shocking. Quite a lot of love for Ollie Pope, saying some guy actually called Ollie. Hang on, let me have a look at his... is it Ollie Pope? It's not Ollie Pope. But obviously he likes Ollie Pope. Ollie Pope is 10 times the player he is. I'm not quite sure I go that far about Ollie Pope. But yeah, please do keep getting in touch. I'm enjoying interacting with people on TikTok. There's also been some people having a bit of a love-in for McCullum. I said I think McCullum is a bit of a snake and was hoping to get rid of Stokes, which Philip B said, I think you're talking rubbish. Just watched today's press conference with Stokes. Yeah, I did watch that press conference. And when Stokes was asked if he had any support from people like McCullum, he clearly hadn't. So there you go. As I said, Sticky Wicket Cricket Show on TikTok. I'm having fun messaging with you guys, so please do connect with me on there. But yeah, Bethel should be nowhere near the team for me. This is just an unacceptable situation that Rob Key has got completely out of control. Jamie Smith comes back. He did paternity leave a couple of years ago in New Zealand. More paternity leave. He just walked straight back into the team. He was appalling over the winter, but he's one of their favourites. And like I said, I don't see too much changing from this England setup. It's cosy. We like you guys. You can come back when you want. You can go to India. You can stay for the whole time. You can come back when you want. We'll still pick you. You don't have to play county cricket. And to me, it's right on a knife edge, and it's perfect for New Zealand. New Zealand had a great win last week. As I said, they weren't even made to work for it. On the last day, they'll have had a few beers, a few indiscretion-free beers, I'm sure, and they will have loved everything this week's has been about Stokes, the press conference, all that sort of stuff. They're just flying straight under the radar, and I'm sure they'll be well prepared and ready to go. And it's going to be a tough ask. Jameson is he injured or been rotated out? That is good for us because he's a serious threat with the ball. But Mitchell Santner, if it does break up, he's a lot better spinner than Bashir. So we might have our work cut out there. But look, this is a huge game. It's kind of strange, isn't it? If you go back, I think it was 2022 when I think it was Bairstow smashed it and Bazball really got underway, and we were all along for the ride at that point. And then we smashed Pakistan in Pakistan, and we thought this is the way to go, right? And wow, you fast forward a few years, we've now lost, in the last 2-3 years, we've lost more tests than we've won. But we very rarely lose at home, so this is a huge game. If we lose, something has got to give. Personally, I'm praying that what will give will be McCullum and Key, but certainly, hopefully, McCullum will go at that point. Maybe he can just concentrate on our white ball stuff. I fear that if Stokes were to go or get forced, you'll then get Brook and McCullum are going to be, fucking what, we're going to play ramps and scoops, and no. To me, that's the worst possible outcome. We have to keep Stokes, I think, for at least until the Ashes next year, and then we need to get somebody more experienced, somebody who can pull the lads together in the background and set up a proper atmosphere that is conducive to playing 5-day tough test match cricket so that we can be hardened and ready for the Ashes next year. But this is, it all hinges on the next 5 days. There's going to be no problems with the weather, I can tell you that. So the way this England team play, we will get an outcome. Like I said, I always want England to win. However, if something were to happen where we can get rid of McCullum, I'm not going to be too disappointed in that case. So we will see. But yeah, as I said, thank you for all your interactions, especially on TikTok. I'm enjoying having a bit of spirited back and forth with people. I'll keep you updated throughout the game. Please let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think McCullum should go? Are you Team McCullum, Team Stokes? I honestly think that's where it's come to. So let me know, and I'll talk to you in the next one.